What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Moon Knighting, a DU reaction show to Marvel Studios' Moon Knight, playing on Disney Plus. We just watched episode 3 or chapter 3. I think they're just going by episode numbers. The Friendly Type, and overall first reaction, I liked it. What about you, sir?
It was a good episode. I think I said at the end of the last one, I was really excited going forward with the tease of them going to Egypt at the end of the last episode. So it was cool. You know, I always, like I said before, I love change of scenery. Again, the music has been really big for me. I actually went and did a rewatch of episodes 1 through 3 just before we were recording here. So I did take down notes of the songs in episode 1. Once it got to episode 3, I didn't really know the songs as much, but they are all Egyptian, Middle Eastern slaps, man. They all bop, and I do hope they're included in whoever's Moon Knight playlist is out there, if it is, before I get to making my own.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're so pretty much excited to talk about this episode. We forgot to mention it's just myself, Joe, and Alex here. Ryan is on location doing adulting all day, so he'll be back most likely for chapter 4 or episode 4. But yeah, one of the big things after the first little first a quick little synopsis of this episode, pretty easy. Harrow's got the scarab. He's in Egypt looking to find Amit's grave or tombstone, esophagus, whatever it's where she's at, where she's buried.
The tomb, yes. Where
and Mark, who's in full control of I guess the avatar, the body, is on his heels in Cairo with Steven in the mirror realm, I guess we'll call it for right now. And so we get a little prelude of Layla getting a new passport, and a very cool scene, very interesting scene. I almost got a little bit of a vibe just the way she was conversing with we didn't get a name for the lady.
No, I'm guessing it's not a mom, but maybe a mother type figure, or just somebody she's worked with in the past.
Yeah, and she's listed on IMDb as forger because she was forging the passport.
Yes.
I almost got a vibe that she also knows Mark, and I was almost kind of wondering if that was Mark's mom, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, she definitely has a relationship. But that was a cool, nice little scene of her getting her passport to follow Mark, finding out that Steven's flat was only 20 minutes from Mark and Layla's old house in London. So and one thing I mentioned last episode, where I think a lot, I had it in my mind, but I don't know if I got around to saying it. But I think a lot of Steven, and we come to find and this, like I'm kind of repeating myself from last episode, a lot of Steven is what I think Mark loves about Layla, because a lot of the stuff that Steven was bringing up, like the French poet, and he's like, that's my favorite poet. No, that's my favorite poet. And she was really into the studying of Egyptology. I'm just calling that. I don't know if that's what it's actually. I think that's what it's called, but. And so that's how Steven is. So I think a lot of whatever forced Mark, because I feel like Mark is the main person, I guess, in the body with the different personalities. And so I think whatever trauma that whatever was forced from Conchi or whatever, that's where we got Steven. But a lot of Steven is what he likes about Layla, which is kind of weird. But I don't know. I just want to jump to that real quick. But you mentioning the music, that song that was in the opening, the little Marvel logo, man, that song was kicked really.
Yes, I actually Shazammed that one, and forgive my pronunciation, but that was, oh no, here we go, El Miluk, and I believe the song is called The Kings, the Black Tech and Marlex remix. So
yeah, very cool. I like it. I dug it a lot. So, and like you said, the music, this whole series so far has been.
Oh no, wait! I think El Miluk might be the Kings, because before below it says the artist is Ahmed Saad featuring Ineba Zakush and young Zakush. So both old and young Zakushes featured on the song.
Yeah.
But
So,
yes, that was a good beat. It was fun.
sweet. And I already kind of forgot. We're going so quick. You did say you liked the episode, right?
I did. Yeah, I dug it.
Cool. And so we'll kind of go through. We started off, like I said, in the with Layla and the Forger doing a new passport. Get the Marvel logos with the awesome song. Then kicks right to Mark running on the rooftops in Cairo. Not sure exactly what he's running at, or it looked like he's chasing somebody, and finds three. I'm guessing they're some of Harlow's muscle, maybe on the
Or
roof.
something. Yeah, just some of his extended network, which seems to be everywhere at this point.
Yeah, taking care. Yeah, they were finishing off a gentleman with a knife, and then because obviously Mark's looking for Arthur, and then they start to fight. And we get a little bit of what I say, a little bit of Poe Dameron on this scene where one of the guys gets a little fancy with the knife, and he's like, "What do we do? Dancing? We fighting?" And kind of goes back to Poe, like, "Who talks first? I talk first. You talk first."
Yeah.
So, and we get a pretty cool hand-to-hand battle on the roof with between Mark and three of these guys, and then until he's got the blade to the guy's throat, and then see Steven like, "Don't do it." And
yeah, that was a fun scene. I dug, when the guy gets all showman and licks the knife and he pops him in the face.
Yeah.
I think anybody's thinking, and in most other situations where something like that happens in a fight scene, usually spells bad news for the person who's trying to get demonstrative. And then where he kind of settles for the open hand slap on the kid because he's a kid.
Yeah.
It's a damn good slap. Will Smith vibes, I guess. But nice. That was a cool little, like you said, Poe Dameron. I know you had kind of mentioned he's almost like a kind of Deadpool-esque type character. And from some of the stuff I've seen from the comics, a lot more Deadpool-esque in the comics than we've seen on Disney Plus television so far. But
oh yeah, absolutely. So he what are we going to call it? Is he phasing? I guess is what we'll call it for now. When
well, I think it's a good point to make that what we see in this fight scene is Mark Spector's abilities without Khonshu.
Yeah, so, good point.
That he's, I guess, kind of. You go back to episode 1 and how we had him flashing back and forth, and he would just, come to as Steven, and like people would be like dead or knocked out around him. We presumed at the time that was Mark. And now we're having the opposite of that, where Mark is in control and he's flashing out, and presumably Steven is the one doing things, kind of getting a little bit ahead of the scene, right where you were leaving off, where he sees Steven in the reflection of the blade. Next cut, we go to him in the cab headed to the airport, and he jumps out and sees the people he was fighting with, and they're like, you made a deal, you let us go, and he's like, that wasn't me,
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that then we fast forward a little further, and he's fighting with one of the guys, and conks out, and then he's got the guy dead in his hand, and kind of a string of death sitting around him, blood and everything. So we're kind of coming to find out that wasn't Mark or Steven doing.
Yeah. And I brought that up in last episode, where I think we've been, like I said, we've been teased of another personality just by, the looks of the mirror. There's the two personalities we met, Steven and Mark, but every time they show them, they're in the face of 3 mirrors or multiple mirrors every single time. So, and of course, of the comics, we know one of those personalities is a guy named Jake, but I don't know if this is Jake, because I'm not too familiar with his character, or if this is kind of like a newer or a different character, but seems to be a lot more violent, because we assumed when it was Steven that was what I'm going to just say phasing at times, and then his hands were bloody. He had the bloody scarab, and everybody was, now we see how much Mark can handle people hand to hand, but he's not straight up killing people. And then when he faces, then like you said, the guys, it's a bloody mess. So yeah, very interesting who this third personality is. But
definitely, yeah, it's you say phasing, I like to say in the driver's seat.
yeah, that worked. You know what? I'll go with that. That works a lot better. Yeah. So we leave them there. Then first of all, we see before even that scene, we see Arthur walking in the desert with a lot of his followers, using the scarab as a compass. And I always try to hear, but you notice it more later on in this episode. But every time he's walking, you hear the glass crunching wherever he's at. So they're not staying away from that, which I think is kind of funny. But you really hear it when they're later on in the temple.
I just hope there's a payoff as to why he does that. Maybe that's what gives him his power or something. It's, sacrifice to have the power of that staff or cane or whatever it is.
Yeah, it is very strange. And I feel like I've heard like there's a term for what he's doing. I just, I should have probably done my homework a little bit better, but very cool. I mean, it's very strange, but like you said, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a payoff somewhere, or not. Who knows? We'll find out. But so that was a really cool introduction and seeing where Mark is. That he isn't the one that's leaving the blood trail around. And then what would he get? We go back to him running into Khonshu, kind of walking through the city.
It was after he comes to and he's like, I didn't do that. And then they're up on the top of that hill and Khonshu tells him to, hold the kid over the rock. He'll talk. And so he begrudgingly kind of does. And to his dismay, the kid did not talk. Another follower of Ammit, he cuts the scarf that he was being held on and falls to his death. It was kind of funny moment with Khonshu. He's like, I thought he'd talk.
Yeah.
Guess I was wrong.
That's right.
I think from there, it's kind of where we get him talking about, that's our lead. How are we going to find it? And they go into the whole he makes the eclipse thing to summon the I forget the name, but the court of all the other Egyptian gods, the Enrite or something,
so the different
I'll take notes next time.
I mean, it's fun to just watch, we get, let me see. We get Horus's avatar. That's just what they're listed as. Salim, he's one of the main avatars. Isis avatar. Yatzil, which is a couple of these avatars. So, but it's cool because Khonshu tells Mark that he's going to be summoned, and that whatever this is how we're getting together. Walks away. He's like, "Aren't you coming?" He's like, as he's walking away, he's like, "Oh, I'll be there," which would seem like a kind of a weird, confusing. Well, if he's going to be there, how come he's walking away? But we find out how they get there is right before each one of the avatars is seated. They kind of, I guess, give their body to the Egyptian god that they're representing.
Yeah.
So and as this is happening, Harrow's group, they're all digging to get to Ammit, and he sees, he's like, "Oh, you're getting desperate, old bird," to call on the gods. And he's like, "Keep working, everybody. I want to be summoned soon." And
he seems to be almost a step ahead or just know everything that's coming. I felt like there was a little foreshadowing when Khonshu says, if we're going to do this, we have to make sure our case is airtight against him, against Harrow. Which to me said, okay, the case wasn't going to be airtight and he was going to get away. Similarly as to how he says that if he meddles again, they'll freeze him into stone. And sure enough, we see him get frozen to stone later in the episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope everything doesn't come as on the nose as that in future episodes. But yeah, so we get the meeting of the Egyptian gods' minds. They summon Harrow to answer for his crimes, to which he has all the correct answers. and basically they're like, yeah, sorry, Mark or Steven or Khonshu, he's done, he's committed no crime, I believe was the term.
Yeah.
Whoever the lead avatar was in there said. But yeah, so they go out, and I believe that's when he runs into Layla after.
Yeah. And real quick, like I know I mentioned just from the first 2 episodes that I'm like, man, even already, Oscar Isaac's got to be up for some kind of acting Emmy or something. And again, playing another character, he played Khonshu for a second and the way they did that, I thought was pretty cool. It was a little over the top, but like purposely over the top. And but yeah, like I say, Harrow's cool as the other side of the pillow, and kind of everything that Khonshu had planned, he kind of turned it back on him. And then they forced to talk to remove Khonshu out of Mark to ask, because he's like, this guy's not well, and he's being taken advantage of, like I was, when I was the Khonshu's avatar. So
right. Well, and it's almost kind of telling, as you said, cool as the other side of the pillow. What is it going to take to get Harrow, shook or scared, feel the pressure a little bit? And I think taking Khonshu out of the equation for however long it may be is going to leave it to Mark and Steven and potentially Jake or whoever else is in there enforcing to do it on their own. Thus, it would be an adversary that Arthur is not necessarily prepared for, as he kind of is prepared for all the tricks that Khonshu's coming with.
No, absolutely. So like you said, kind of going back to where you started, they're running, and that's where he runs into Layla in a very kind of, I don't say kind of funny way, but it's still kind of a funny way. Just he was I just totally brain farted. Because he was trying to get like information from somebody. He was getting information from like a street vendor, and then but once he kind of mentioned, I guess, who they're looking for, the guy walked away. Then that's when Layla.
Right. They were looking for another god or buried tomb or something, right?
Yeah, who has I always mispronounce it, but it's like the Egyptian tomb. It's sarcophagus. Yeah. And that was Anton, is what he's listed as, Anton Mogart, and which is just another extremely rich person to get whatever they want, basically.
Who does seem to have, as we find out when they meet, that they have some sort of a background together, he and Layla.
Yeah. So a little bit of that awkwardness, especially when she introduces him as, her husband, and Anton did not feel like he really dug into that real quick. But then he allows Mark to oversee the sarcophagus that he has. It wasn't Amit's, was it? It was just another random.
No, it was started with an S. I forget the name.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to be here in IMDb because it was not a character.
Yeah.
I would have to go back into the synopsis, but.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, so he's trying to figure out, get some clues. And then, of course, we see a reflection of, well, we keep seeing Steven's reflection. I forgot to even mention when they're walking through the pyramid that he, like, you see Steven all like, oh my God, we're in the pyramid of, was it a Giza or something like that? So
something like that. I actually thought that was kind of cool. I mean, at that point, not really sure where Amit, or Anton stood, but it was almost like he, being this collector, had made like I don't know if it's a museum because it was a private collection, but he made his own pyramid tributes to these, gods who had their sarcophagus and pyramids before. It almost looked like Pyramids 2.0 or for a next generation sort of thing.
Yeah. And it really, what it actually reminded yeah. What actually reminded me of is the, and it's still in the Marvel universe, but in the Doctor Strange section of Avengers Campus, there's that like, it looks like a Dungeon and Dragons like die, but it's the glass and it kind of lights up and flashes at night.
Yeah.
Just the structure of it looked a lot like his little personal museum.
Didn't remind you of the Imagination Pavilion at Epcot?
A little bit, a little bit. Good call on that one. But so then obviously Steven and Mark are having an argument because Steven or Mark wants his help. He's like, no, I'll give me control and I'll tell you to bugger off or something like that. But he finally decides to help. But at the time, then that's when Anton's bodyguard comes in and tries to pull a gun on Mark, which gets it quickly taken away and pointed at him right away. But that's when Anton and Layla and all the even other people kind of show up, and he's like, crap, gives a gun back, points it at. So, but we got a little something from do you remember what he pulled out from the sarcophagus?
It was almost like a astrological map, the things that he was folding out there.
Yeah. So more clues.
Because he was talking, like you said, he was talking to Steven, and he was like, help me with this. And he's like, no, let me control the body. And so eventually he breaks down and starts helping him, and he's folding it up. And that's when, they got all caught up. And I believe fight ensues at some point, because that was when Layla goes back over and she pulls all the stuff. And we see she's got some fight in her as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We see a couple times. She could definitely hold her own. Then we get a little Moon Knight action.
Oh, and a little big Moon Knight action.
Probably the biggest action sequence that we've gotten.
Putting a lot of his attributes on display. Let's say that.
Yeah. So, oh man, yeah, this was such a great action scene. Then we get a little bit of. And this, I think it's still the scene, but we get a little bit of Mr. Knight return.
Yep.
And these
time out, everybody. Time out.
that kind of took me back to the fanboys for a second when they did the little Trekkie versus Star Wars nerd. And he's like, time out.
And then he gets a stick through his body. He's like, okay, you can take the body back.
Yeah, take it back. But no, that scene was pretty cool with him getting impaled multiple times. But I mean, but the whole thing is you could see, because now Anton has Layla, and I mean, you being a recently married man, and you could tell that, okay, instantly he had that love look, like don't mess with my woman kind of look. And that's when all hell broke loose even more.
Sticks and shanking everybody.
Yeah, that was. So we are getting that violent Marvel that we've been expecting, definitely in this episode, that little heavier violence. So, yeah, great scene.
That was, and that I just wanted to mention here while we're in it, that Anton Morgat was played by a French actor, Gaspard Ulliel, and as we saw at the end of the episode was dedicated to him. He tragically passed away in a skiing accident earlier this year. And which is horrible, and it sucks, especially for loss of life first and foremost. But it seemed that his character may have had a future in the show or in this universe, as I learned that his Anton was the alter ego of Midnight Man, which is in the comic books I guess a main villain of Moon Knight. So we were kind of talking a little bit before we started recording, and I wasn't sure. At the end of the scene, which is kind of where we were just at, you kind of see him start to ride away, and Moon Knight, throws a knife or one of the half moons at him and kind of gets him in the back. You don't know whether he's dead or not. He doesn't fall off the horse. To me, I was saying it almost seemed like that might have been thrown in post. Or as a reshoot, because they could not go further with his character, maybe we will see him again, because presumably this season was wrapped before January, so whatever else is coming in the next 3 episodes would have already been shot. But ultimately, very sad about his death.
Oh yeah,
Life cut too short, too soon. But thankful that we got him in this episode where he did definitely steal the screen for the moments that he was in it. And I think his character would have been cool to see more of.
no, agreed. Yeah, that's very tragic. Yeah, for sure. And oh yeah, because you see it throwing, he ran it through like to a smoke or cloud or something at the time, right?
He was on his horse because it was right at that part where, like you're saying, he says, Layla, no. And you think he's going to go get Layla. I wasn't sure if he was going to go for Anton or for Layla, and he ends up grabbing Layla from out of the way. And then you see him riding off on his horse, and then Moon Knight hits him with a knife or something as he's riding off. But, it's Marvel, and at least in the cinematic universe, no one ever really dies.
Exactly. And so where are we at next? We're just about done. Mark and Layla go to looking for the star.
The constellations.
Man, I am just tearing it up tonight. Yeah,
the star place.
Yeah, the up.
But so Layla swooped the maps out of the sarcophagus, and they steal a car. Something that we kind of hadn't really touched on is in the exchange. Anton, no, not Anton, because what's his name? Harrow shows up there too.
Yeah, that's right.
And he starts kind of talking to Anton, like, don't believe this guy. He's like, I know all this stuff about Amit and like the deities, which clearly Anton had, I want to say like a lust or like a like for, as he was this, collector of all these things. And he mentions that something to Mark about how he's afraid Layla will find out who he really is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And there's a moment in the previous episode where he's picked up by the cops who are actually Arthur's followers. They're talking about who Mark really is, how he's this mercenary, and at one point, had zip tied some archaeologists' hands together and shot him execution style, which I don't think they've said in this specifically. In the comics, there is kind of a tie-in with Layla's father, but in the opening scene with the fixer lady, she mentions how her father's passed away or been gone. So presumably there might be some sort of tie-in in that, whether it be that Arthur happened to be the one who was like, that was, shout out to my wife. I was talking about it with Addie before coming on here, and she was saying maybe that, as we know, Arthur was once the avatar of Khonshu. Possibly Arthur was the one who did that, and then that was what made Khonshu ditch Arthur and then take up Mark Spector. So maybe Mark wasn't necessarily the one who killed the archaeologist, but was in that place at that time when it happened.
That's a nice theory. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like it too, as I don't like to think that Mark did that, but obviously with the and the other thing I learned, we were trying to think of the the proper term for the multiple personalities, and I believe it's dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah.
Or DID, as they refer to it in some of the videos I was watching.
Yeah.
So I could see how that would definitely play into it as well, if it was in fact Mark who did that. But so as they're getting away in the car, she kind of brings up what Arthur had said, and he's like, don't even worry about that. He's just trying to pit us against each other. And they get out to the desert, and they start kind of looking around for first she's telling him that she needs Steven because Steven could figure this stuff out.
Yeah. And
so as much as he relents, he gives a driver's seat back to Steven so that he can help them. And he does immediately know all this stuff that they need to know, which I don't know, maybe I don't want to say something ignorant or whatever about him just hitting his head and having the consciousness of both personalities, but that would be a lot more convenient.
Yeah, it would.
But Steven helps him figure it out, and they aren't seeing the stars in the same place, and I believe that's when Khonshu pops back up, or maybe Steven. I forget who makes the realization that over time, like, the stars have moved and stuff, so the sky wouldn't look the same now as it did 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And so Khonshu, he says, well, I was there that night. I remember all the nights, almost in a dismayed sound, like something bad happened to him. Maybe that was the day that he was banished or something like that. So he, along with, I guess he acting through Mr. Night, starts rolling back the night sky 2,000 years in a real cool sort of motion.
Yeah.
Which I thought, I'm like, if he's doing this, it should be doing that all over the world. But according to one of the videos I just watched, it wouldn't. It would only be happening around Cairo and the surrounding area. I mean, at the least, it should be happening everywhere where it's night, right?
You would think so. And it really reminded me of the one scene from Tomorrowland where the machine that was in the future, but they can go back to any part of in time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that was really cool. And anytime they can show stars in the sky like moving real fast, I'm like, ooh, that's neat. I like it.
But I think that is when he again warns them. He says, if I do this, they're going to come for me and put me in stone. So you guys are going to have to, figure it out and come get me out, basically. Because I guess that big thing is without Khonshu, presumably they can't become Moon Knight or Mr. Knight, right?
If that, or at least definitely not get healed. But
right.
that's what I was wondering. So
it's going to come down to the the mercenary action hero prowess of Mark Spector
and the brain,
the brains of Stephen Grant, and the taxi driving abilities of Jake Locker, whatever. But I guess, we shall see. So the episode then ends with we get Layla finding the coordinates from that night sky that was revealed to her, and the kind of the Justice League of Egyptian gods gets together and starts performing a kind of ritual to encase Khonshu in stone. As they do that, Arthur shows up, and he basically kind of does that evil villain monologuing moment, talking about just want you to know that everything I'm about to do is because of you. You made me, and this and that. So it almost felt like we got it in that sort of penultimate, like, everything's gone wrong. Where can our heroes fix it? And we still got 3 episodes left. So,
and it looked like, or at least how I took it. I mean, I might have, I don't know if I took it this way or not, but that Arthur and that main Avatar been kind of colluding. So,
but then we'll get the other Avatar, forget her name, but the goddess of music and love or whatever.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll be coming. I don't know if she even can come to help. Well, no, because she is the Avatar, so she's a person somewhere. So maybe she'll come find Mark Spector and Stephen Grant and.
Yeah, and we kind of glazed over this, but she's the one that gave him the name of Anton after his little, I guess we'll call it interrogation. But yeah, she's listed as Yatzil. She's got a name, so I think she's important, and we'll see more of her, I think, real soon. And I think teaming up, not necessarily teaming up, but definitely helping Mark and Steven.
I don't think it was Anton. She mentioned it was like another Egyptian god who was connected to not Khonshu, Ammit.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you could find this, then it would direct you to Ammit. And he was the collector who had that sarcophagus.
Yeah, who Layla knew. So little teamwork there.
And apparently the street vendor knew Layla knew him because he just stepped out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of takes me back to watching like Travel Channel with Anthony Bourdain, but I love how they showed Layla. She had just how they do like juices, like in Egypt and stuff. They just have it in a bag and a straw.
Yeah,
And I'm like, oh, I've always wanted one of those.
I love the moment when they're on the boat, and I guess where was that? That was probably on the way to see
Anton.
Yeah. And they kind of have that moment, I haven't heard that sound since our wedding, and kind of have the tender moment, but just the scenery, and presumably they're going down the Nile River, right?
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
And if you don't believe that, you're in denial.
You're in disbelief.
There it is.
So that was pretty much this episode. Like I said, very, very fun episode, very action packed, and gave us even a little bit more mystery, being that we don't know who that third personality is. But I'm sure we're going to see it some more. Did you notice any? Of course, with it being Marvel, there's always some kind of mentions or Easter eggs. I know they've mentioned like Atlantis, and I think Wakanda showed up in the background for something. And even I think before when we were recording the last episode, we were kind of wondering where the timeline is in Moon Knight. But I was listening to our good friends at the Marvel Tribe breaking down Summon the Suit, and Dave mentioned that in the background there's a bus that drove by, and on a sign on the bus had that organization that was in Falcon and Winter Soldier that was helping people like not recover, but after the blip, people
like
are living
no borders thing,
so, kind of like that. It's like the GNC or G something, but it's just so at least we know that. But by that we know this takes place post blip.
Yeah, one of the Easter eggs that was pointed out was that her fake passport was dated May 23rd, 2019, which is presumably when the second blip took place, when the whole from Endgame.
Oh, nice.
And not that there would be any real relevance to that, other than like if you're thinking about making a fake passport or a fake ID, having it happen around a blip might be a good time to like, people be like, oh, well, whatever, everything's messed up around this time. You're fine.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's good to know. And another thing, I'll just keep shouting them out. I had no idea until I was listening to Marvel Tribe, but in each episode so far, I didn't see it in this episode, but somewhere there's a QR code.
Ooh.
So I know on the second chapter, the QR code was when he was in a storage locker. On the door, it had whatever the door was, and you could scan it. And I think on the first episode, it was like on a bus or something. But if you actually scan that QR code per episode, it takes you to the Marvel website. And so for the first one, it took you to the digital comic of the first episode of Moon Knight, which was in the werewolf. We were talking about it, the
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. So, and that lasts a week. Then the second QR code was Moon Knight's second appearance. So it's like I say, you scan it, it takes you to the website, and it updates, I guess, after every episode.
That's cool. I'll definitely have to go back and look for that.
Yeah.
Another thing, as we've come to see with the MCU shows, is the intros and post credits alter slightly after each episode. The main thing I've noticed is that the moon is getting fuller and fuller each episode in the post credits or during the credits. I haven't really noticed any other specifics. I think that might be, you were saying when they showed like Wakanda and stuff. Is that in the credits or?
I think it showed up like in the background of something, and I said I should have taken better notes, but
yeah, likewise.
Been a busy week.
Yeah, no. Next week I will be up watching, beginning one of my favorite holidays, April 20th.
Huh? What day is that? No,
High holiday.
Yes,
and I'm not talking about Easter.
Right on.
Although I'm looking forward to that too. Ham on Sunday.
Yeah. Ours. Oh, that's a different. We'll talk about that later. But no, I can't wait for it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, but that's pretty much it for this episode. Like I said, very action packed, very, very good. I'm loving the show. The show is very fun to watch, and it is actually kind of nice that we're not getting like we don't have to watch this hunting Easter eggs every episode. Just we could just watch something, enjoy it, and get hungry for the next one. So that'll be coming real soon.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Like I said, I feel like we've almost reached a penultimate space, and there's still half the season left.
Yeah.
Another thing I mentioned before we started recording is I'm realizing, at least for myself, I don't know if I call it a flaw or a drawback. When I sit down and watch a Marvel movie, I'm excited to sit down and see, beginning to end of the movie, I've come to a point now with Marvel TV shows where I'm sitting down and I'm waiting for there to be like some big Easter egg or an appearance of a character that we already know, or a character that we didn't know was going to show up, a new character from the comics or something. And while I am still excited, I have my excitement is tempered because I know I won't see the ending. So basically, I start it and I it's almost like I've got a restrictor bolt on to how excited I can get for the episode.
Yeah,
if the episode ends up being amazing is cool because then my excitement's going to go through that. But I had said I went back and watched 1 through 3 again today, and I'll probably do that again once we get to episode 6 and watch 1 through 5 before 6.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the QR codes, I'm going to go back and check that out. I did have a little theory when I was watching episode 1 earlier today.
Okay.
After getting into it, I don't know how likely it is, but the whole thing with it, talking to his mom on the phone, I feel like his mom might have passed, and that Steven was something that came out of the grief of losing his mom. So I don't know.
Possibly.
I would have to look more into dissociative identity disorder and how it happens and things like that. But that was just a theory, at least for the show, of how that is. It definitely reminds me of Zemo listening to the voicemails of his wife. I don't feel like there's anyone on the other end of that phone.
Well, I definitely feel like he's leaving a voice message. But I think that's a very good theory. I think though, if it is Mark's mom, she's still alive because when she first met Steven, he said something about his mom, and she's like, "Oh, well, you guys are talking again," thinking it was Mark still.
Oh, that's true.
So, but
well, then it could just be that their relationship was severed, because of what had happened. With, I don't know, him becoming a avatar for an Egyptian god.
Possibly, yeah. But I think there's still something to it with the mom because, he was, definitely leaving like voicemails or something, but she's not there. So
it's definitely going to be something that by the time we get to episode 5, we'll go back and watch stuff from episode 1, and it'll be cool. I know in the last episode I had said how it would be cool to see the other side of when Steven was, blacking out and then coming back, and you'd have all these bodies around him, to have like another episode that would show the perspective of Mark, blacking out and then coming to and being in a different place. And we kind of got that in this episode during that fight scene. So,
oh yeah. Yeah. This episode definitely had numerous very good fight scenes. So,
well, here's to meeting personality number 3 next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we'll have our third personality back with us as well.
Absolutely. Well, hope you guys are liking the show. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that little bell that we show up, and we'll be back for chapter 4 or episode 4 of Moon Knight next week. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
No, that's about it. I'm excited. I still have tickets to see Doctor Strange. Still avoiding trailers. There's some good ones. One thing I just want to mention, I found out, this is still kind of in the Marvel universe, but
and sticking obviously in the Disney universe, but Guardians of the Galaxy Galactic Rewind or Rewind?
Galactic Rewind, yeah.
Yeah. They're
Or Cosmic
scheduling
Rewind. That's
Cosmic Rewind. Thank you. It is opening May 27th. And so my niece, where are we at? Saturday the 15th, Friday the 15th, as of recording. She will be riding it on Monday for the cast member preview.
Oh, wow. That's an early preview. That's like
Yeah.
over a month before opening day.
Yeah. So, and I know one of my other friends that works at Galaxy's Edge will be previewing it next week. Then the pass holder preview will be, I think, a week or two later. So we'll definitely have her feedback.
Yeah, it's y'all know. Addie and I will be going for a honeymoon in the fall, so I'm just waiting to see if that's going to be a individual Lightning Lane selection or if it's going to be a what do you call it? This virtual queue or what it's going to be. At least at that point in time, they did just today. They released that the villain for the ride. I forgot his name, but it is a Celestial.
Oh,
so kind of like from the Eternals.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that like things are starting to come together as far as phase. Are we still in phase 4? Or are we phase 5? Phase 4, right?
4, yeah.
Yeah. Especially with rides now intertwining in the MCU story. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah. And, this could be like a whole other podcast, but I'm glad the thing that Marvel's doing is not just with the movies, but in the theme parks, each theme park, Paris and Hong Kong, Disneyland, now Florida, they're all doing different Marvel things, but they're pretty much exclusive to that park, but they will tie in story eventually, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, and that was my big thing about Galaxy's Edge, that they did 2 identical lands. I mean, you could have still done totally different spaceports, but still have Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance, but still make it differently where it's, one's Batuu, one's
something more Coruscant looking or something.
Yeah. So, but that's okay. We still love it. But
well, word on the street is they're building one in Paris too.
Yeah, I saw that Avenger vehicle that they've been posting.
Yeah, that's getting ready to open. So we'll see. I don't know that they would call an audible and change it on the third one if they've already done 2 identical. But
yeah, so
that Disney Studios park is getting a lot better.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So, but anyways, thank you guys for watching Moon Knighting. We'll be back next week, like I said, with episode 4, and like Alex said, we'll have our third personality joining us. And but yeah, let us know, comment on the videos or what you guys want to hear. I'll definitely prepare better. It's just been a long week and I kind of rushed my watch, but at least Alex was able to hold court while I was. But
and definitely, like Joe said, if you guys do leave some comments, we'd love to go over them in our next reaction show. So if you have any comments on what we've seen so far or predictions for what we're going to see going forward, share it with us on here so we can talk about it together.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will see you next week. And even though we didn't hear it this episode, I will close the show with Later Gators.
All right, bruv.